I'm Pat Doris. Welcome to The Story. All the ways to communicate with us right there at the bottom of your screen. You can email us. The address is thestory@kgw.com. You can use the hashtag #TheStoryKGW on Twitter, or you can leave us a voicemail. Just call our phone number, 503-226-5090. You've probably heard the saying, democracy dies in darkness. It's the official slogan of the Washington Post newspaper, but it originated with a federal judge who was trying a government secrecy case just before Watergate. I think it captures the work journalists try to do. It's also why we bring you so many stories examining the way our government is working or not working and how it could be better. In fact, we have another story on that topic in our show for you tonight in just a few minutes. But first, I want to talk about local journalism and the next generation, some of whom are at the University of Oregon right now. There's a bit of turmoil around their student-run news show. In fact, it's off the air right now. Here's some background, and here's a look at their show. The students produce a weekly news show called Duck TV. It's run by the students. They research the stories, conduct the interviews, shoot the video, and put together a half-hour broadcast. We talked with Eric, one of the producers.
We have weekly pitch meetings where we pitch stories. As a producer, we pick the stories and assign them to the reporters who work in teams. And then they have the week to produce that story, everything from conducting interviews, filming B-roll, editing. Then they'll turn it in, and the producers will put that broadcast together. And then the following pitch meeting, we'll watch the broadcast, critique it, assign stories for the next week. The following day, it'll be released to the public and air for the public.
Programs like Duck TV are crucial to learning a profession like broadcast journalism because it's not just book learning. There is a hands-on craft to learn, how to use a camera, how to ask good questions, how to take good notes. Everything that goes into a news story and a news show. Duck TV has been around for decades, and many people who now work in news throughout the Northwest say Duck TV helped them learn what they needed to know to get their jobs. But now the students who run the show say the university is not letting them do it anymore, and they worry it may not come back. The show's been indefinitely canceled, put on hold anyway. The School of Journalism and the communications at the university say they want to rework the entire program and potentially build something new. The administrators say the program has just gotten too big for them to be able to handle and that it's created some issues.
There has been traditionally a one-credit class, and that one-credit class started as a 30-person class and ballooned up to about 150. And that just is not sustainable as was. So we're looking for ways to make the experience part more sustainable and the capacity to be able to deliver, both support in terms of gear and in terms of space in a way that students really develop skills.
It is great that so many want to take part, but bigger is not always better. If there's not enough gear or enough chances to get involved, that's very frustrating. The school says they don't have the faculty available to manage such a big group, and they're concerned that not everyone's being treated fairly.
We want to be able to give them more tools to be successful. And more ways of thinking about those tools. We want them to have a diversity statement. We want them to make sure that credentialing is fair and ethical. We want them to be able to have reps, and do so in the best way, right? So, so as frustrating as this is for students and for alum and for faculty and all this, I think the core idea is how do we build the best TV, Duck TV, that we possibly can.
The students say the process has left them without any way to produce their show, and they've been left in the dark, they say, while administrators take the reins. The university has floated plans to turn Duck TV into a series of workshops or maybe limit it to upper-level students. Those involved now say it just won't be the same.
Duck TV has offered me that really hands-on in-the-field learning that you cannot replicate in a classroom. I've gotten to go in the field and produce stories, talk with community members, meet real journalists, work alongside them. And that's something that you really just can't replicate sitting in a classroom for a couple hours, 2 times a week. The stories we produce have a real impact. They get, shared on social media. people feel like their voices are heard when we cover their stories, and that's something that is meaningful to me as a journalist and everyone else at Duck TV.
One of the many people working in TV who are Duck TV alums is our own Galen Etlin. Galen, how did working on Duck TV prepare you for this job?
Yeah, Pat, I would say Duck TV was a great gateway to broadcast. It was an extracurricular, not a formal class, and there was just one story that we had to produce per week compared to the many that we produce in a day sometimes. So there were also occasional chances to anchor in studio, really diverse experience. As you know, broadcast in reality is really tough. A lot of us, even now, shoot, write, and edit the content that we air here. So Duck TV was a really good chance to use the gear and decide, is this something that I want to do in the future? I would say for me personally, Duck TV alone could not really prepare me for my first TV job in a real newsroom, but it was certainly one of the stepping stones. I definitely needed more practice in some of the more involved broadcast courses at U of O, and the hands-on experience I also got from newsroom internships. So I understand, I hear the frustration by students going through this. It is a valuable program. So I urge those interested in broadcast, if they're missing out on it right now, to connect with people like us in the industry, because it's really the best way, I would say, to learn and navigate this crazy business we call TV.
All right, thank you, Galen. You're obviously very professional now. And by the way, get ready for your inbox to be filled with emails from students.
I'm ready.
Okay. And we should also mention that other alumni have started campaigning to save the show, and administrators say they are going to meet with the students as the process moves forward, but they did not provide any kind of timeline for when the show would be back. Now, here's our government story. The city of Portland may well undergo a change in its government structure, which a lot of people think would be a great idea. But as we start to drill down a bit, many of you have questions, and tonight we have the answers. A group called the Charter Change Commission is studying this. It should be called the Change Our Broken Government Commission. They're proposing expanding the number of city council members from 4 to 12 plus the mayor. They believe that can be done without increasing costs. And lots of you are skeptical about that. Mike wrote, the cost to increase the size of the city council could be huge, considering the need for office space and the large staffs they end up with. And John wrote, really? Give Debbie Kitchen credit for being able to say with a straight face that a 12-person Portland City Council would result in efficiencies that reduce the cost of local government. Really? Well, really, that is what they told us. I took the question again to Andrew Spear, who's a member of the commission.
So right now the city has 27 bureaus, and within those bureaus, some of the bureaus share services like human resources or communications. But a lot of the bigger bureaus, thinking like PBOT or the Water Bureau, they have their own services, meaning their own HR department or their own comms department. And so there's no unified city, HR department that covers all hiring for all bureaus. And so if you think about the number of full-time employees that are needed to staff within those silos, and then you think about them being consolidated over time, and then the need for less FTEs for, say, comms or certain legal services, that then creates efficiencies on the back end. And the other dynamic being that we are expecting that because commissioners or city council members wouldn't be having management of bureaus, that there's also a decrease in their staff.
By the way, I checked today, 3 of the 4 current Portland City Commissioners each have 7 people on their staff. One has 9. Andrew Spear there told me that under the new charter, they would envision each commissioner having just 2 staff members. So doing the math, that would cut 30 total staff for just 4 commissioners down to 24 for the expanded 12-person council. Others have asked about the plan to have 4 districts with 3 council members from each. Why not just 12 districts with 1 council member from each? In fact, as Greg put it, why not have more districts than 4 with each district simply electing 1 person? Seems much simpler to me.
For me, it comes down to a representation. The discussion we've had on our commission is how do we create spaces for the most diverse representation? And when you think about single member districts, there's really opportunity for whatever demographic lives in that district that is the majority, that's going to be the form of representation versus kind of a more holistic representation that might cover, I live in East Portland, and so there might be, many different ethnicities representing my district when formed. So versus say just the status quo, right, of whoever the popular majority is in that given space.
I see. So basically, it theoretically possible if you had 12 spaces that you would end up electing 12 white people, even though they're living in more diverse areas. If the popular vote puts them through, then they're in, and you're not getting the diversity citywide that you would hope.
Agreed. And I think that also within this proposal, the notion of needing to tie that with the ranked choice voting, which we propose as part of our package. And so the multi-member districts and the ranked choice voting go together well to help create more diversity just in general on council.
So you heard him mention that ranked choice voting. Ranked choice voting is another idea which allows voters to pick not just the top person they want to represent them, but also the second and third person, maybe even more. That tends to help lesser known candidates and less extreme candidates, and the commission hopes that would lead to a more diverse city council. Finally, some of you wonder about the plan to hire a professional city manager who would run everything along with the mayor. Don wants to know, will the new city manager be an elected or appointed position, and who makes the appointment?
Under our proposal, that position would be appointed or would be nominated by the mayor and then confirmed by city council. And so city council would have a chance to weigh in and again, that's analogous, right, to thinking about the president nominating a secretary and Senate confirming that person. So then the mayor would then have, day-to-day management authority over that individual and working in tandem with that person. And then also have the ability to, under our proposal currently, have the ability to fire that individual if cause.
So there you go. I'm sure you have more questions to fire off, so send us those emails or leave us a voicemail and we'll dig out the answers for you. Also, what do you think about those answers you just heard? Are you still skeptical? Let me know. I look forward to the dialogue with you. Let's shift back for a moment to last night's show. We explained Portland's fascinating campaign finance program. It aims to take big money influence out of local elections and give you, the voters, a bigger voice. Anyone running for mayor, auditor, or city council can sign up for the program. All they have to do is gather at least $5 in donations from 250 different people who live in Portland. And once they hit that amount, they can qualify for an incredible 9-to-1 match on the first $20 of each donation. 9-to-1, that is a ton of money. And a lot of you had some important questions about that program. Ray asked, did you say where the funds from the city came from? Well, that's a great question, Ray. The money comes from the city's general fund bucket, and according to the director of the program, they only take about 0.03% of the city's total budget.
It's a tiny fraction of money that then ensures that our entire government is accountable to the city. So typically these programs, even though they cost a little bit of money, they save money, because if you aren't taking money from big donors, then you aren't doing some patronage to those donors through the city budget process.
And Robert had a great follow-up request. He said, you didn't tell us how well those candidates that actually took part in that program did in the last election cycle. Well, Robert, you're right. Sorry about that. Here's your answer. In the last city election cycle in the spring and fall of 2020, Carmen Rubio, Mingus Mapps, and Dan Ryan all used the Open and Accountable Elections Program, as they call it, and all three won. The one outlier? Mayor Ted Wheeler. He did not use the program, but his main opponent, Sarah Iannarone, did. Senior citizens living in a Portland apartment building have been dealing with a mysterious Legionnaires outbreak for more than a year. No one's quite sure what's causing it or how to stop the spread.
Every time you turn on a faucet to wonder, is that aerosol? Am I breathing that aerosol into my lungs?
Now, they're finally getting some financial help to find new places to live.
While I do appreciate what they're doing to help us relocate, it doesn't change the fact that this has been my home for almost 13 years.
When the story continues. Welcome back. Keep sending us your questions and comments to thestory@kgw.com or give us a call and leave a voicemail, 503-226-5090. We've already seen a couple of emails come in about Duck TV. Thank you for caring so much about that program and about those students. We will keep an eye on it and let you know what we find. And we really do want to have this dialogue going on. We really read all your emails and listen to all your voicemails. We respond to most of the emails. We can't respond to all that many voicemails, sorry, but we do want to hear from you. So thank you for communicating with us. Moving on. At an apartment complex called Rosemont Court, a difficult transition is underway tonight. It's an affordable housing building for people 55 and older, and it's beautiful if you've ever been there and seen it. It's beautiful on the inside and the outside. But there's a difficult to stop infection going on there of bacteria that causes Legionnaire's disease and is forcing some seniors to move out for their own safety, and some worry about what comes next. Christine Pitawanich reports.
And family pictures. This is one of my best friends named Tina.
Marilyn Hassan is packing up, getting prepared to leave her life here at Rosemont Court in North Portland.
This is my dad. He's a World War II veteran.
Making things harder, the people she's come to see as family and friends who also live here.
It's devastating because we're moving into areas we don't know anyone.
Hassan just found out she and others will get some financial help to move after an outbreak of Legionnaire's disease in January of 2021. The building owner, Northwest Housing Alternatives, as well as county health officials, have urged residents to relocate due to ongoing concerns that the bacteria that causes the disease may still be in Rosemont's water. Legionnaire's disease is a severe form of pneumonia or lung infection. So far, more than a dozen people have gotten sick, and one person has died.
No one's been sick since September, and I'm thinking it's over. And then we get this note yesterday.
The financial help consists of up to 2 years of rental assistance and up to $4,000 to pay for moving. It's thanks to a partnership with the Joint Office of Homeless Services and funding from other organizations.
While I do appreciate what they're doing to help us relocate, doesn't change the fact that this has been my home for almost 13 years.
At almost 68 years old, Hassan says the stress is too much. She doesn't know where she'll end up next or how long it'll be.
So I'm packing up my memories.
Until she'll be able to move back in, or if she'll be able to.
Or what happens if they're not done in 24 months? Who's going to pay my rent? Am I going to end up moving into a tent? I mean, I'm just putting it out there like it is. I'm just keeping it real. I don't have a job.
For now, she's trying to stay positive, despite all the uncertainty.
I'm just trusting right now that it's going to work out in my favor, in all of our favors.
Another person I spoke with who had Legionnaire's disease and has since moved out of the apartment complex says she hopes people like her who have moved out and are still dealing with the fallout from the disease get additional financial help as well. Meantime, the building owners say the source of the outbreak is still unconfirmed, but it has been able to raise more than $415,000 from various organizations to help residents move out, to relocate. The plan is to work with health experts to ensure the safety of the building. Christine Pitawanich, KGW News.
Coming up next, the snow may have bent down your flowers. It did a lot worse to the blooming cherry trees in the Columbia Gorge. We'll take a look at the damage and talk with a grower. Coming up next. I'm sure a lot of you are hoping the spring snow is over and stays away until next winter, especially if you're trying to get your gardens together. But for people who make a living growing things, the snow hit hard and it does not look particularly good. Catherine Cook went to Hood River to get a look at the cherry crop and what farmers are doing to try and save it.
It's usually sunny and 60 degrees.
Teresa Draper has never seen her cherry trees covered in snow
There, that's a good one.
this late in the season.
Some varieties are touchier than others.
A season which brought forth an early bloom due to late winter warmth.
No, that one's dead.
A combination
Yep, another dead one.
that scares her.
When I look out, I see January.
Draper owns Draper Girls Country Farm in Mount Hood Parkdale, outside Hood River. In a typical year, they'll have a couple cold nights this late in the season. They can usually protect young blossoms with these fans that keep the frost from settling. But they can't run the fans in high wind, which usually accompanies snow showers. It's why Draper fears losing about a fourth of her cherry crop.
Just worry, just plain worry, because it's just typically, again, we don't get this kind of weather during blossom time. We never get snow.
Well, it's nerve-wracking. It's very nerve-wracking.
Christoph Fowler is warehouse manager and orchard supervisor at Hood River Cherry Company. Each season, they produce about 4.5 million pounds of fruit. He estimates about 80% of the valley's orchard trees are now in bloom. The promise of fruit within each flower, now just a hope.
The blossoms and the ovule will actually die when it's about 29 degrees. And so the night temperatures have been hitting 28.5 to 29, and it's borderline. You might get about 20% of your crop, damaged.
Fowler says despite the critical cold snap, he believes most crops will come to fruition. He hopes things aren't as bad as they might seem. He has to.
A lot of people go to Vegas to gamble, but, farmers, they kind of gamble every year.
No, these are all good, which is great.
For Draper, every blossom that's still alive is a win this year.
So what if they get more late season snow next year? Well, the farm is already looking into buying some propane heaters to place around the orchard and hoping this never happens again.
I've never really felt like we needed them, but yes, after this year, really thinking that through.
The fruits of their labor may depend on it. In Hood River, Catherine Cook, KGW News.
Keep sending your questions and comments to the story at kgw.com. When we come back, how you can help a clinic that provides health care to low-income communities right after this. For this week's Hey Help campaign, we're asking you to donate to the Free Clinic of Southwest Washington. They provide free basic care, health care, and dental care to the uninsured people and low-income communities in the region. If you'd like to help out, just hold up your phone's camera to the QR code on your screen, or you can go to kgw.com/heyhelp. We spoke with their executive director about the services they offer and what's changed during the pandemic.
I think the need is greater during COVID, but I think kind of in different ways. So COVID has really exacerbated some other problems that have all arisen in our lives. And so I think there's more need for additional community services. So, our wellness is more than just the physical, which is something that we can do here at the Free Clinic, but we've really started to expand our services to figure out how we can address other areas of our patients' lives. So we do have a community health worker on staff who we brought in 2021 to help with those things, to figure out what else is going on in your life that's impacting your overall wellness and how can we help you address those.
Here's that QR code again if you want to help out. The clinic relies completely on donations and grants. And this is a micro donation drive, so remember you can give any amount, no matter how small, and of course, no matter how large as well. That's the end of our show. Thanks for watching. But remember, the story, our story, that never ends. I'll see you tomorrow.
This is KGW News at 6:30.